So, excuse my mess. I've been warming the whole flock because my roosters were all really skinny and they realized everybody else is skinny too. So I just warned everybody just to make sure. This is my girl that y'all saw me do the waterbelly reduction on not too long ago. So I'm going to do a necropsy on her. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the skin up a little bit. She's probably going to have quite a bit of fluid come out of here because you can tell she's pretty full of fluid again. So I'm going to just make me a little slit. Now this takes quite a few times of butchering and doing necropsies before you can figure out what you're actually looking for. But once you know the basics of it, then you just got to get experience. So I'm not sure what was going on with her. So part of what I do just to get the feathers out of the way is I'm just going to skin her on the breast area to make it so that the feathers aren't all up in my way. Can't see what I'm doing with the skinning knife. I'm just going to use my scissors. Have I mentioned I love my kitchen shears? So now that I can see what I'm doing up in there. Okay. So now it's all nice and open for me to be able to see.
Fuckers. Messing with the donkey again. Fuck.
So I'm cutting very carefully because I do want to actually see each layer. So as you can tell, she's got a big layer of fat, which goes along with my first thought that she's probably got heart disease. Okay, so this next part is probably where you're going to see all the fluid come out. I'm just going to cut a little slit in that. See all the fluid? Can you see it in the picture? Okay. So that's all the fluid that I was using the syringe to pull out of her. She's got a lot of free fat in there, which is not a good sign. So, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to feel where her ribs are. And I'm just going to kind of cut through the ribs. Once again, I love my kitchen shears for this. Because I do want to see where everything belongs. I want to see it where it is. So, and if I break down crying, I apologize, y'all, because I was very attached to this poor girl. Okay, so you can see here our lungs. Her lungs actually don't look too bad. And her heart, which I expected to see a lot more fat around. She does have quite a bit of fat, though. So let's cut away some more of this fat down here. Now I'm thinking, this girl she was the one that I had the rooster that made her have the egg break inside of her. So all that water could either be caused from heart disease or it could be caused from egg yolk peritonitis. So I'm really thinking it's probably egg yolk peritonitis. Now look, I'm just looking to see what everything looks like. You can see on her intestines, there's some red spots. I don't know if you can see that one very good in the picture. That's kind of telling me she's got a lot of those. So that is kind of telling me it's probably the egg yolk peritonitis that got her, that had her so sick. Once they start getting all this fluid build up, it puts pressure on all their organs. I'm just trying to loosen everything apart from each other so I can take her apart one layer at a time. Excuse my cameraman. He came from Washington sick. Her liver here. Feather. I'm sure that didn't come from inside. Okay, so you look, her liver actually doesn't look too bad as far as fat goes. Usually when they've got a fatty liver issue, you're going to see a lot of this yellow stuff actually sticking to the liver. All this fatty stuff's making it hard for me to see. So this is her gizzard, and yeah, I'm even going to pull her gizzard out and cut it open so that I can see what was going on with it. So, if I can keep a hold of all this fat, you know what, let me cut this fat off first. Might make it easier to hold on to. Because that is a lot of freaking fat. Now, it's a lot of fat, but she was very underweight, so that's a sure sign that the chicken was pretty sick. So here's our opening for our gallbladder. I mean, for our gallbladder. This is the chicken equivalent. Yeah, that's what I'm going to claim. So she was still processing things through her gizzard. The skin of her gizzard does all look healthy and normal. The only thing abnormal is just the quantity of fat. And I said, just because she was losing so much weight, that is actually a concern that she got that much fat. And she was that skinny. So we're going to cut her heart out here. Her heart is really tiny. For the size that she was before she started getting sick, her heart should have been bigger than this. Cut her heart open. She has no fat deposits inside of her heart or her arteries. So definitely not heart disease for what got her, what made her sick. So it probably was the egg yolk peritonitis, which was my original fear anyway. So what kind of fatty crap we got going on here? Oh, she's got so much fat. Pull the rest of her liver out since I already checked it. So I pulled her liver off so that the duct that comes off the liver, which is called the bile duct, I'm going to point it down here so that it doesn't, if it spills, it doesn't get anything all over the rest of her inside, so that I know for sure what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go right in here, and you can see right here. See, there's that little tear-looking thing in her duct there. So this is either egg yolk peritonitis or a really bad case of worms, which I don't think she had worms because this was pretty sudden. And usually if it's worms, it happens a lot faster. So we're just going to kind of open it up. Just cutting all the connective tissue off of it. Be very careful doing this, guys. Don't cut yourself. You're just going to kind of get the tip of the knife inside the bowel. Okay. And cut the bowel open. Now, if she had worms, when I did that and squeezed it out, you would see worms right there. I don't see any worms. So we're going to go to a different section of the bowel, because just because there wasn't any there doesn't mean there wasn't any somewhere else. So we'll get closer to her vent. A lot of this fatty tissue is just a result of the chronic infection. Oh, I think I might have found what was wrong with her. So this, guys, is actually a tumor. If we cut it open, maybe. So you can see that it's got some pretty nasty stuff coming out of it. So she had cancer. Well, I can't say it was cancer because you can see she's got all kinds of gross stuff inside of it. It's kind of a cottage cheesy looking stuff. When they get egg yolk peritonitis, it can cause all these little tumors inside. And they just get kind of filled with this cottage cheese texture stuff. It's not because the infection stuff is yellow that it kind of hides the texture. But you can tell that was more like a lash egg kind of thing coming through. Now, what have we got going on here? But let me get this bow finished first. So you can tell she's got a lot of water pockets. That's because I wanted her bowels to be kind of empty for this, so I didn't gag on y'all. So all she's had since yesterday was water. But she actually still does have some food in her bowel. If I can get it loose from all this fatty connective tissue, I will pull it out. So we're doing this off to the side. So I'm going to pick a portion of her bowel that's got the most, what looks like poop in it, because if it's worms, that is where you will see it, is where there's more, looks like poop. So I'm going to squeeze that out, and you can see there's nothing that looks like worms in that. So definitely not worms. So let me kind of pull more connective tissue loose here. So all of this is connective tissue. I mean, not connective tissue, oviduct. And you can see right here was a yolk forming. That's an actual yolk from inside. We're going to cut it open and see if it would have been a lash egg or not. I guess I could have wiped that off. No, it would have been an actual egg. But since she laid so many lash eggs, there's no telling once it was released whether or not it would have turned into a lash egg or not. She hasn't laid in like 3 months, so she was still eating a lot of bugs though. So I let her go as long as she was eating bugs. But she had started suffering, and I wasn't going to keep, had to wipe the yolk off my knife there. I wasn't going to keep letting her suffer and keep pulling that fluid off if she couldn't even get out and walk around very much. So this is her oviduct, and you can see she's got all kinds of little tumors all up and down her oviduct. And she's even got probably, this is probably another little tiny, would turn into a lash egg inside. And then some of this I'm just pulling the tissue loose. So you can't feel it. I was about to say you can feel right here. She's got a, you can see it though. Whole bunch of lumps. Now, those are all just little infection pockets. Lash eggs waiting to happen. Now, this is a lash egg from inside, but you'll, well, actually, let me cut it crossways, probably get a better view of the, see the layers? That's what tells you it's a lash egg. I did a video that showed her lash egg right before I did the other videos. Pause. Yep. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. Okay, so I'm going to do another cross section. And you can see as you go down, those layers go all the way through. So the very center of it, that little mess, the circle in the original part, it starts off one of these, and then everything else is just layered on top of it as it goes through the oviduct. I kind of suspected this would happen to her when the rooster broke the egg inside of her, but she was such a good bird and so sweet that I just let her live her life. Now, you can see here, everything is swollen in here. And that's from all the infection in this area, the chronic infection. And if we open her up, you can see the inside. This is not liquid. This is actually inflamed material on the inside of her intestine and oviduct. This is right before the vents. So this is right where the egg would set right before she lays it. And it should be smooth on the inside, just like, there's another part of her oviduct. Here we go. It should be more smooth. She had chronic infection all the way up it. So it's going to be hard for me to find a spot that looks normal. Let me find a part of her intestines. There we go. There's a part that's not inflamed. See, it should be more smooth like that. Not all rough. Where'd it go? Not all. And it's almost, it feels almost like mold. Like on the inside of a fish tank is almost the texture of it. It's pretty gross stuff. Now, we know for a fact that it's not a good idea to eat her because of chronic infection. But we're going to go ahead and finish doing her necropsy here. The kidney. That knife is just not doing very well today for me. I must not have sharpened it very well in that area. And the kidneys, you see, it's starting to break down. And that's from the chronic infection as well. She has a huge mass right here. And this is leading into her gizzard, into where her gizzard was. So it was even starting to affect further up her body. You can see it was starting to get infected. It's not the striations like it should be for the inside of a gizzard. Another baby, a little egg yolk. So she was forming the egg yolks. They just couldn't, because of the infection, she couldn't pass them correctly. Everything's all jacked up because of the chronic infection. I was feeling so sorry for her. I just couldn't watch her keep suffering, even though it breaks my heart to have to call her, but might as well get an educational video out of it. So this is a yolk that looks like it was starting to turn into a lash egg. And you can see it's almost the texture of cooked yolk inside. So they go from being like a normal yolk, and because of the infection, they start looking like a cooked yolk before they start looking all hard and gross like cottage cheese. Ew, I just splashed myself. This is why I didn't change from getting pooped on before I came out here, guys. Another tiny yolk. Look, it's a tiny, tiny yolk, barely formed. Her ovary was pretty much at the end of even being able to produce yolks. And I'm sure the chronic inflammation did not help with that. So I don't see any other huge masses that shouldn't be there. I just see a lot of this fatty tissue that's from the infection, the chronic infection. Hope y'all didn't mind that sound. That was a bone breaking. So her lungs are nice and pink. Look. I know y'all couldn't see that in that picture when I said the lungs look good earlier, because I was looking from the other end and I could see the tip of them. So when you're cleaning out the inside, when you're butchering them, what you're doing is you're following the direction the ribs go with your fingers and actually pulling these lungs out of there. So you're going, shh, and then you're scooping it out, but you're going from this end. So it's kind of weird. Kind of a weird angle. So hard to get lungs out without destroying them, but they're a nice, healthy pink color. So at least it wasn't getting into her lungs. It was just all the pressure from all that fluid. Now we're going to pull her skin back up in this area. I'm going to come to the other side, Billy. I'm just trying to cut the skin away from the crop without destroying anything. So, like I said, she didn't eat last night, but look, she's still got stuff in her crop. So, I want to know what she got in there. She might have even just been eating little bits of food that had dropped. That's all it is. Okay, good. I was kind of worried that she might have been getting a tumor started in there when I felt there was something in that. So her trachea, you can see, still looks pretty healthy. No blood except for right there where she was butchered. Everything else looks really healthy. Now, if she hadn't had all this massive infection, I would go ahead and process the meat. I didn't do it in a way that I could process the meat because of what my suspicions were of what killed her. And since I was right, I'm glad I didn't take more time. But normally, if I think it's just a massive heart attack, I will actually completely skin them before I do the necropsy, so that if it was just a heart attack, I can rescue the meat. At least the bird didn't go to waste. This poor girl, she was just really sick, had been for a while, and she was getting to the point where she was just suffering. So I just had to put her out of her misery, because I can't watch an animal suffer. It was just too much. And she's had her belly reduced probably 6 times since I did the video of the belly reduction. So I hope that didn't gross anybody out too much. And if it did, you ain't going to be doing no butchering, I guess. But I hope it helps somebody to kind of know what to look for. She only had one issue, thank goodness. Or she might have had to get called sooner, or I might have been able to show y'all some other stuff. But once you get used to what you're looking for, you know when it's abnormal. If you come across something that doesn't look normal for when you're butchering, shoot me a picture of it on Messenger, and I'll see if I can figure out what it is. But until you've done a few of them, you just don't know what's normal. Yeah, have a good day.